All right. We are going to let this warm up for just a second. I don't have my boys here from Comic Book Look this time, so a minute to win it. I don't really have anything for that, but I am definitely excited about the book that I had a chance to read today and review. So before I open the show, per tradition, I always love rocking and rolling with the introduction videos. So I am going to go ahead and roll the first one, and we are going to have some fun this evening. Be right back.
Who that is?
All right, that is always just so cool to watch, and I love it. But everybody, welcome to Comics by Night, probably sponsored by Rainbow Comics. It's your boy Johnny, aka John on Demand, aka @Comics by Night, and tonight we are rocking and rolling with another classic, spooky classic, Sure to Delight, straight from October of 1969. So just yesterday, right? We are talking about Marvel Comics Chamber of Darkness. Issue number 1, which this is just crazy to me. And so I'm just going to pull in the book really quick here and kind of make it a little bit of a focal point on the screen here, just because it's all about the book. So Chamber of Darkness, issue number 1. First of all, what goodness is this? I'm just going to point the lamp at it a little bit here so we can look at this beautiful cover. Tales of Maddening Magic. Yeah. So truly just kind of a fun tale this evening, and looking forward to getting into it. I'm glad that I'm glad about a lot of things. We're gonna get into it here. Comments right away. Mr. Ken's joining us here. Hey Ken, thank you so much. Love the opening. Thank you. It was awesome to make. But with the Chamber of Darkness, I decided to keep it to just one book this episode, only because I wanted to really take time to just kind of focus on it, and also just kind of start to document these books that I'm reading too. And we'll talk about that at the end of the show and what that means and looks like. And I'm so freaking excited about that mechanic of the show. But I suppose we better just get right on into it here. So first of all, shout out to the orange stand that faithfully holds these books up for us on display. Shout out to comic book creator Pat Gleason for gifting that to me. So awesome, so vibrant, and I just totally love it. But to the books, we have, first of all, just this amazing cover. These books come fully loaded, of course, with the ads on the inside. We see these ads with the facsimile editions of comics that they're putting out for both Marvel and DC, which is always fun. But loving. Throwing the camera here. Sorry, it is top heavy on one side, so that is my bad. But really just wanting to jump in here. First thing I noticed, I'm coming to this series completely blind, you guys, okay? And so first and foremost, I just want to point out that I assumed but was not formally aware that Chamber of Darkness, much like Tower of Shadows, is actually a series of short stories. So the point of the stream, again, you guys, is that I am learning by reading and hitting these books, and I am absolutely enjoying the heck out of them. So this is story number 1 being opened up here, noticing that this is introducing us to a new host, right? And so we had the old Mr. Digger, as in Grave Digger, from the last Tower of Shadows issues 1 and 2 opening up the story. Well, here we're greeted with a gentleman in the with a top hat, suit, etc., and you'll see him featured on the cover here as well. And so this is Mr. Headstone P. Gravely, as seen on his nameplate. So I love that we're already giving different comic book hosts these personalities and making them distinguished from one another. So this first story, we have script and illustration by Stan Lee and John Buscema, and inking and lettering done by John Verpoorten and Artie Simek. Very cool. And so just love seeing that. I've got to say right away, I was really drawn to the artwork that's just going on here. This centerpiece here with our main character, Tommy, is just really becoming. I thought it was incredibly sharp. And so I knew from the get-go I was going to enjoy the heck out of this book, and boy, was I right. So with that, we'll go ahead and jump on in here. In a nutshell, on the first page, Mr. Gravely is just pointing out, Tommy, he's really luckier than most boys, so not really sure why he would be frightened by what he found. But as we dive into the story here, and on Comics by Night, I don't want to spoil the whole thing. I do want to celebrate it, though. So I do, first of all, just want to lift up that the writing and art combo, again, delights. I enjoyed this from start to finish. But Tommy essentially is kind of after, what's the next big thing here? And he's always pushing for, what can I be doing more of, right? And he feels in his heart that there is such a thing as magic and the supernatural. He is one where he will basically read the horoscopes. He does believe in ghost stories. I don't know. It just really reminded me back when I used to really proactively read horoscopes in the paper and other like diner handouts and stuff too, like the diner news that they did. Those were always kind of fun. And so I always kind of got into that too. So this was actually kind of neat. But ultimately, he's really after, I want to learn how to cast a real magic spell. And he then this page here, it looks dark because of the way it's curling against the light, but it really is. Man, if I could just conjure up demons or jinns to do my bidding, there's nothing in the whole world I couldn't have. Nothing. So he has this moment of ambition and just desire to basically get what he wants, right? There's an old man who owns a bookstore, and one of the things that's said here is completely hilarious to me. I love the phrases. So everyone thinks old Hiram the Hermit is out of his tree because he runs the only occult bookstore in town. Out of his tree. So put that one on the record. You're out of your tree. Like me not drinking coffee in the morning, telling me I shouldn't drink coffee, you're out of your tree. He basically goes in, Hiram, the old man, is like, dude, sorry, I'm closed. And Tommy's like, I just want to browse around. I swear I won't disturb you. And then the owner goes, just don't touch any of the green-bound books, all right? And Tommy's just like, thanks for making it easy. He's not looking. Now's my chance. And then, oh, here it is down here. Thanks for making it easy for me, Pops. And then he finds a book called Ancient Druid Spells. Just what he needs, right? To summon a demon. I don't know. We have a classic baseball fans are crazy ad on here. Tommy ends up pocketing the book. The old man is like, hey, you'll be back sooner than later. So just be safe. Tommy makes it home and conveniently finds a spell that summons a djinn to help grant his wish. Man, if it really works, I'll never have to go to school or obey another grown-up again. He reads the spell. I'm not going to read it, you guys. I don't want to summon any bad spirits. And comic book writers tend to be right about a lot of things, and I don't want to find out. So not going to. I'm just kidding. But I'm still not going to because I'll probably mispronounce some of that. And in doing so, you have forfeited your life. And he's like, no. So our young Tommy summons a djinn. And this is not your genie from Aladdin, you guys. This is an angry spirit who, through a series of dialogue, proceeds to tell him that you can wish for whatever you want, but I am literally going to twist it and make sure that you suffer for your wish, for disturbing his slumber. Basically, he's like, basically, you woke me up. I hate you. And do you wish eternal life? You may have it in the deepest pits of Tartarus. Is it wealth you crave? It can be yours without measure, entombed with you till the end of time. So just kind of threatening him with, you can get what you want. It's just really going to suck. And I love that. I love that at all. There is nothing you can wish for that I cannot twist to suit my ends. And then once you have met your fate, I'll make certain that my slumbers are disturbed no more by puny, witless mortals. You heard it here first, folks. But Tommy, Tommy's kind of thinking, he's thinking fast, and he goes, hey, I wish you to turn back time. Take me back to 6 p.m. today, which ironically, he's like, no, not that. Don't ask me that. And then he ends up basically turning the book down, and the old man is like, leaving so soon, young man? And then Tommy basically accuses him. You know it. Maybe you always knew it. And then our host, I love these lines at the end. Our host ends the story with, a pity that Tommy's work was all for naught, but perhaps it's just as well. We haven't any more room left anyways. Though there is just enough space to leave you with this little slogan, always let sleeping gins lie. Boom. So you heard it here straight first, folks. Don't, moral of the story is don't be greedy. Don't not listen to adults. I guess, I don't know. We have another ad here with more fabulous prizes. Again, I get such a kick out of these because it's ranging from trumpets and bicycles, guitars, turntables, airplanes, and then a little coupon down here. It's so great, so great. I love these books. So let's get to the second one. This one was my personal favorite of this issue, and again we have Mr. Gravely here. Old H.P. Gravely, as he likes to be called. Mr. Craven buys his Scream house. Before I get going with this story, I did want to point out that this is this story reminds me a lot. We recently on my other stream, A Comic Book Look, had a chance to interview Winston Gambro on his project, which also was about a house with emotions. And so this really stood out. That interview was, probably about a month and a half ago or so. But absolutely, check out that interview. This particular story really took me back to that, which is ironic considering this one came out in 1969. But this is my first time reading it. So just wanted to lift that up. But yes, Mr. Gravely, he opens up the story with, now creatures creep out of your caves, crawl from your coffins, and fellow Creighton C. Craven as he buys a piece of real estate that's far out, and we don't mean in the suburbs. Come along with old H.P. Gravely as Mr. Craven buys his Scream house, which is the title of the story. I'm a huge geek about lettering. I adore this, and there's going to be another moment too that I completely adore with that. But without further ado, we meet our main character, Mr. Craven. This is his house. First of all, the environment, the artwork, gorgeous. Love it, love it, love it. We meet Mr. Craven. He's looking at finally getting his grandfather's house repurchased. So his grandfather built it, and now he's back and he bought it. He has been saving up for this for years. He does feel the house's presence, which is actually kind of interesting. As though it had a soul of its own. Silly thought, is it though? Before we go too much further, really quick, we have the credits here rolling in a creative fashion. We have the realtor as Stanley, Dennis J. O'Neill as the salesman, and Tom Sutton as the decorator. So I love that. And I think that was kind of clever for giving credit to the creatives working on this particular story. The narration here coming up is actually from the house. And what the other thing I adored with the lettering is how it blends into some of the, tattered fabric and or cobwebs. I thought that looked really sharp just visually. And so I just wanted to kind of show off those panels really quick here because I thought it was incredibly sharp. I liked it. But I just wanted to read the first little bit here. This is the house talking. You are a thing of lumber and concrete. You have stood here in lonely, majestic silence for the better part of a century. Now a man approaches to disturb the quiet which enwraps you like a giant cloak. His shuffling feet scrape on your flagstones. He grumbles, and his rasping voice echoes through your dim, musty rooms. His wrinkled face and stooped form are familiar. Suddenly you recognize him, and a shudder ripples through you from your crumbling foundation to the weathered slates of your roof. He is of the family you despise. So there's some history here. You remember the first craven made of you. You remember the use the first craven made of you, and without willing it, you lash out. And the house is literally, doors are slamming, doors recoil from his touch, floors break. So this part is really interesting. You will do anything to keep him from entering you, defiling you, anything, even sacrifice a part of yourself. You let the boards that support his weight buckle and fall. So this house does not like Mr. Craven, which I think is really just crazy and interesting because this guy's coming in fresh. I mean, he hasn't lived here in a minute, but his family must have really messed up. So Mr. Craven gets mad and says, hey, I'm going to go hire a crew. We're going to go and tear it down. And so he does. He shows up with reinforcements and approaches the... no, he doesn't show up with reinforcements. These guys are all local. He's asking around. Everyone's like, no. There's a situation up there. It's haunted. We've heard tales about it. Hard pass. So he reaches out. Shout out to the artwork again on this page. But he reaches out to another city and brings in workers. Early the next morning, he shows up again leading a platoon of hard-faced craftsmen. You want things modernized, Mr. Craven? And he goes, not modernized, just changed. Change it all. This ad made me laugh so hard. Tired of being skinny? Drink on pounds of weight fast, the fun way. I don't know about you, but I don't know if I would ever need that. I don't know. I thought that was kind of a funny product. Weight fast. So the house basically is like, hey, these guys are really messing me up. I am not liking it. Everything from iron banisters to different parts of the house accents. The house basically dictates you pelt them with plaster and stone, you roar defiantly and see them flee like frightened animals, shouting hoarse, terrified curses. So the Mr. Craven's like, don't go, I'll double your pay, I'll triple it, don't leave, cowards. They're like, nope. And then Mr. Craven goes, you won't beat me, house, if I can't break your will. If you refuse to be changed, then I swear I'll destroy you. Oh boy. And we can about imagine how this goes, but it actually comes with a slight twist. The house is basically like, yeah, no. He shows up with a bulldozer. And so it is basically described as you are deeply, dreadfully frightened. Craven appears at the head of a host of clanking machinery, smiling like a triumphant general. Slowly, the huge wrecking devices wheeze to a halt feet from you, and Craven gives a shrill command, flatten it! Helplessly, you watch the giant black ball swing forward and begin its plunge. You absorb the first timber-shattering blow and wait for the second, the death blow. But it never falls, for at the last possible instant, Craven croaks another command, no, stop! And he says, I'm winning. There will be nothing left to the house, nothing. He follows up with, I'm too weak, house, not cruel and strong like my grandfather, my father. I hope that here, moving into their home would make me like them. But no, I'm soft-hearted and worthless. I can't even harm a building, much less a living creature. So this tale actually ends up with a note of compassion. You gaze after your enemy, wishing there were some way you could comfort him, thank him, tell him of your pity. Night falls and you are alone once more. Mr. Gravely here. Perhaps you're wondering what poor old Craven's granddaddy did, but that's another story for another day. I'd like to tell it to you, but unfortunately, this is the end. So that was quite the twist on that second story, and I totally dig it. This third story here, this is kind of another thing that appreciated my reading order so far. Sorry, I'm power chugging water really quick. My voice is. Ugh. This third story, you'll notice that Mr. Gravely is not here, and that it's actually Old Digger, as in Gravedigger, from Tower of Shadows, is taking over hosting. Old Digger here, well, Mr. Gravely attends to a few of his own undertakings. Let me tell you the story of Boswell Bolivar, a scientist who wanted more than anything else to be respected by his fellow man. But if you can dig what I'm saying, it seems that poor Boswell was born to always leave him laughing. This one is Stanley presents a Gary Frederick and Don Heck masterwork, inked by Frank Giosoa, lettered by Artie Simic. If I've mispronounced names, you guys, I totally apologize, and let me know in the comments for sure. This story was really kind of interesting because it dealt more. We had one science-based tale in Tower of Shadows that reminded me of this, but this one wasn't necessarily gory. It was just more a tale of circumstance. And so this guy is basically building a time machine and dealing with people laughing at him, as seen on this page. Lots of laughing, most likely like potential investors and people that he's like, hey, pay me for my inventions. So he said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and hit this dial because I'm tired of living in this world and this life as a fool. So I'm going to go somewhere else and then basically become a god. We have another ad here. This is build a whole Matchbox car city in your room. That's pretty cool. And we see kind of some time travel. He's bouncing through time and ends up in the middle of a medieval joust. He is then pulled and taken straight to the king. And after 3 days in prison or jail, he is summoned to meet the king and swears up and down that he is from the future. He has 3 miracles to show the king that he is telling the truth. So the first is actually the lighter that is a machine that can summon fire. However, his lighter is not filled. And so guess what? He gets laughed at. Oh, no. Up next, he pulls out his radio and says, I will show you how this box can summon music from out of nowhere. And turns on the radio, but nothing happens. A guard with a spear, knocks the radio out of his hand and it is broke. So now he is down to just one thing remaining. We have a pair of ads here, so just more of those. Who else wants a He-Man body? 1,000 tricks, be a magician. Like all these ads, it's so funny. So good. But this third, oh wait, this one, hold up. I might have gotten them out of order because oh, yep. The radio was the third one. This one was actually a camera where the guard knocked it out of his hand and it broke the camera and the film spilled out. Yep. And then the final one is the radio. And this was really funny because he essentially it felt like he was truly expecting it to work. And I don't know why he would, unless you're just kind of in the heat of the moment, like, man, I got this. But he eventually does piece it together in this narration bubble that there are no radio stations yet. So, of course, there is no music coming. The queen lifts up, hey, it would be a pity to kill this one because he is pretty amusing. So for someone that travels through time, he is basically thrown into a dark room, made to change, and ultimately ends up as the court jester. So it's kind of a bitter twist of fate. And again, this one, it's not necessarily terror, but more having to live a life that you didn't want to, which is terrible in my opinion. And of course, our good friend Mr. Digger here. Yes, Boswell hated to be laughed at, but in the end, he had no choice but to learn to live with it if he wanted to live at all. For, ironic though it was, the Queen had commanded Boswell to become her personal court jester, and for the rest of his days, he had to be certain to always leave them laughing. And that is it for this book. But going cover to cover here, there is an advertisement for Tower of Shadows. So they are lifting those books up, saying, hey, these are on sale now, as well as Captain Marvel, and then some other mail-in options and some other ads as well, which are always kind of fun to show off your boys sell grits, karate here. And this ad was in the Tower of Shadows as well. Do you have art talent worth developing? Take our free test and see. And then some additional ads there and more on the back. So that is it for Chamber of Darkness issue number 1. And I gotta say that I am just so thankful again that I had a chance to read Tower of Shadows 1 and 2 beforehand, and just seeing the similarities in the format makes me happy. It is so curious to see Marvel doing these publications at the same time, and so it's probably just to allow more stories maybe to be told on a monthly basis, but there are several more series like this that I have not read yet, and I don't know officially like if they're all going to be short stories like this or not, because I haven't read them. So I'm really looking forward to getting to those. And so I'm referring to Tomb of Darkness, Dead of Night, things like that. Some of them, heck, some of them might even be reprints of some of these that I've already read. But I am going to, with this channel, do my best to stay in order in terms of publication dates, and just kind of get that experience of reading them as they come out. So ultimately, I'm personally really giddy about seeing how some of this literature may or may not pop up in future Marvel tales, or at least the influences of, or maybe a location. So I am so excited to continue on this very dark and comic booky journey. But that is my show for this evening. So I really appreciate everyone tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and roll the outro video, and then I will wrap up the show. We'll be right back. Oh man, all right. Well, again, you guys, I have so much fun just watching those videos and seeing everything just come together and be enjoyed. This really was a fun book. Tom, I see you in the comments. Wow, thank you so much for tuning in. Tom is the co-host from my other stream, A Comic Book Look, and it's this book. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm loving the artwork. I'm loving the environment and the atmosphere that the creative teams set with these books. So thankfully I have a heck of a lot more to read, and it really is fun. So I recommend you guys at your local comic shop, ask them, do you have anything in this vein? Give it a try. That's one of the things I love about presenting on this channel, is that literally every show gets to be Halloween, so I don't have to wait until once a year or anything like that for a theme. Every show is going to be like this, which I'm so freaking pumped for. So Chamber of Darkness number 1 on a jack-o'-lantern scale, absolutely would give it a strong 4.5 out of 5 for sure. A lot of enjoyable notes to this one, and definitely excited to check out the rest of the series too. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and close the show down. This is Comics by Night, and we are proudly sponsored by Rainbow Comics. So if you're in the Sioux Falls area, stop by 42nd in Minnesota. I forgot our cross streets for a second there, but 42nd in Minnesota, and say hi to the team. If you're in the Lincoln, Nebraska area, we have a store down there as well. So stop on by and say hi to Taylor and the team, and both shops will be ready to rock and roll and help you out with those comic book needs. You can find me on the socials @ Comics by Night, @ John on Demand. If you're tuning in to this on YouTube, definitely consider following me on social medias, also @ Comics by Night. But until next time, you guys keep those candles lit and read those pages, and we'll see you guys next time.